feel like we need elevator music. Ding, ding.
Meeting is now streaming on Facebook. Yeah.
I must check that.
I always have to do that. Whenever we
Oh,
go live, I'm like, where am I? Can anybody see me?
tap, tap. Is this working? Yes, we are live.
Yay!
Fabuloso.
Amazing.
Fantabuloso, right. Let me just turn my volume right down so that I can follow with the comments. Because you know what happens if we do this, and I have the Zoom link on here on the side, that you'll just hear yourself double. Anyway, we are live. This is happening. I'm so excited to be doing this. And I'm here today with Eloise, one of my best friends and clients, who I currently have the pleasure into. I would like to say something really witty, like I've roped you into this kind of thing. But, but we wanted to talk about, you know, her journey, what it took to get her to where she is right now. Just chat a little about a few things. If anyone's live, then you can just ask us questions and comment about this. But this is really just to get to know the journey that it takes to go from a point A to a point B in your business, whatever that might be. And I thought it would be really cool to hear from someone who's been, you know, with me for such a while and who I've had the pleasure to know. And so, Eloise, as a standard, would you like to introduce yourself for just a second?
Yes. Hey, everybody. I am Eloise. I'm a web design expert. I have been creating websites since I was about 12 years old. It is literally in my blood. I live and breathe websites. And yeah, I work with female entrepreneurs who want to get more higher level clients and attract dream clients with a website that's like next level shit. So yeah, that's what I do.
I love it. I love it. I love that. And by the way, Eloise has designed my website, so if you like what you see, you should check it out. I'm absolutely in love with it.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
Let's go into your journey, because I'm super fucking excited. So there are a few topics that we'll cover, but we'll just let that flow as we see fit, right? I'd love for you to just take us through where it is that you started before you and I even started on this journey together, and then we'll take it from there.
What, like right at the beginning?
Right at the beginning, or wherever you choose to do so.
Oh my God, we've got so much history. Yeah, so I suppose, so it all started when we looked over the room and locked eyes at the networking event that we both attended to that one day. And yeah, and we started chatting from there. And basically I was in, I'd probably been running my business for about 6 months, and I was hustling hard. I was doing all the things, and I had no business experience either, like no business, no sales experience. And I remember actually when we started working together, I was down to my last 30 pounds and I was freaking the fuck out. But it was one of the best investments I ever made, because like a month later, I was able to like pay everything back, and yeah, just made more money than I ever had like before. And we dug so much into mindset, and I raised my prices and started running a business that I absolutely loved. And so we went through that, and that was awesome. And then probably about a year later, so my second year in business, I stopped getting coaching. And then I kind of dropped off, I suppose. Like I really started to struggle again. And I was getting to that point where I was just like, I was probably making at most about £300 in my business again. And the thing was, it wasn't like I was hustling. It wasn't like I was getting leads. I was getting leads. It just wasn't really working out. And there was obviously so many mindset issues to work on. And it got to a point where I was like, I think because you see so many people talking, like there's this whole story, right, of I was really struggling, and then I sorted my mindset out, and now I'm earning blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's such a stereotype, right? We see it so often. But the thing was, and I was one of these people that I'd see all these stories and I'm like, can't just be mindset. Like, they just fuck that. It's not mindset. It's not that easy. There is something that I'm missing. And that whole time I spent focusing on this like thing that I'm missing. There must be something else. There must be some marketing that I've not done yet, or whatever it is. You know, we look for that one thing. And then I got to a point where I was struggling so much again, and I was just like, okay, fuck it, let's dig into mindset, because I've got nothing to lose. And now I'm one of them people. Like, I'm literally I am one of those people that like, oh, I was really struggling, and then I looked in my mindset and then the whole thing worked out. And I know it's frustrating.
Just a second, by the way, to actually uncover what's behind that, but just hear her out.
Yeah, we'll go into this, but yeah, it was really frustrating, because I was just like, all these people, it can't just be this, but it is. It really is. I'm sorry. I know you don't want to hear that answer, but it is. And then after that, I had this massive growth, and I started making money more consistently again. So when me and Adina first started working together, like my income was more consistent. And then when I stopped coaching, I started going like up and down again. And then it was just like going down and down and down. And then I dug into like the mindset, did loads of mindset work, and then had a massive growth. So I went from making £300 on average every month to averaging 3k cash months every month, and it was almost like overnight. It was almost in the space of a month. It was insane. And so that was awesome. And then I've been doing that for about 6 months, and a couple of months ago I was like, actually, this is a bit stagnant now. Like, I had this massive growth, and then it just stopped, and I was like, I want to go further. I don't want to stick at this level. Like, I know this is just the beginning. So yeah, so that's why we've started working together again.
Love it. I love it. I love it. And there are a few things that I want to talk about, but what I think is really important, and this is something, I mean, you and I agree on this, and we have plenty conversations as far as that's concerned. Hearing the phrase, oh, all you have to do is change your mindset and suddenly the money will come to you. And I think that the issue that everyone who is going on this journey has, right, you and I included, is that it almost sounds like, it sounds too simple, and in a way it is, because what we're feeling is like, oh well, what, so if I change my mindset then suddenly I make more money, right? But there's so much more behind the actual work that needs to be done. And so what I would love for you to talk about and just touch on a little bit is, when you think of mindset, one of the things that I like doing with my clients and with yourself and with myself is seeing where is it that we can take responsibility for our own actions, right? Because very often what is it that we try to do is we try to control an outcome that we are out of control of. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that shaped your journey, how you took responsibility, and how working on that set of mindset just really helped you break through and level up?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult, because it's like, making money gets to be easy, but getting to the point when you believe, when you can believe that, that's the work, and that's what's hard.
Right.
So one of the things that kind of really helped was just taking the pressure off myself, because seeing all these people going, oh, it's just mindset, it makes you feel really bitter, and it makes you almost feel a bit stupid, because you're like, well, I've tried being happy. I am happy sometimes. The money's not flowing in. What the fuck? And so just taking the pressure off and kind of saying to myself, like, you know, this could be like a long journey. You know, it's not something that's gonna change overnight. And it's funny enough, it's almost like an oxymoron, right? The more you kind of lean into that and slow down, the more things actually speed up. So when I was like, do you know what? Let's take the pressure off myself. Let's slow down. You know, we'll do this mindset. We'll work. You know, we'll do the work. you know, but it just chill, it's not going to happen, just wait and let it come to you. That's when all of a sudden I had so much growth overnight as well. So it was really weird how when you slow down, things speed up. But yeah, I guess, yeah, radical responsibility as well was huge. So, you know, for those of you who don't know, it's this idea that kind of like you are responsible for like everything in your life. So, and it's not to say like if something bad happens, it's your fault, right? But it's this, if something bad happens, how can I respond to this? And responding with, you know, love, kindness, taking the pressure off myself, but also thinking about what could happen was a game changer. Because, you know, in the past, particularly when I was struggling and making 0 to 300, you know, I'd get more bills or something unexpected would happen, and I'd say to myself like, oh my god, you know, this I really need to make some money, you know, pressure, pressure, pressure. But also, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening at this time? It's such a bad time, you know, I'm so annoyed at you, universe, like that kind of thing. And then I turned it around. So, you know, it's not like the bills stopped coming in, but like I'd get an unexpected bill and I'd tell myself, oh, okay, oh, do you know what? Wouldn't it be so cool if I just landed a client tomorrow and it just covered that bill? And then shit like that would happen, you know, or I'd get a like unexpected check in the mail, or something would happen and maybe that bill was void or something. But just daydreaming into, you know, rather than focusing on the bad and thinking, oh shit, I've got this unexpected bill, or how am I going to pay the rent? I spent so much time daydreaming about what was possible. And there's this whole thing of what's you either focus on what's probable or what's possible. So you can either sit there and go, oh well, you know, it's unlikely that I'm going to pay my rent, or you can sit there and go, oh, do you know what, I know I'm struggling, but how cool would it be to just all of a sudden in 3 days time have signed like a top level client, like one-to-one, who's just paid in full? And sometimes that would happen, and you literally look back and think, oh my god, I've just done that. Like I've just had this thought and it's literally manifested. So yeah, radical responsibility and focusing on what's possible, not what's probable.
I love that, and I love that response. And this is another sort of area that anyone who hasn't dived, whichever, choose, you anyone who hasn't experienced the work that it takes to actually scale your business. And the way that I like to describe it is generally is you absolutely need strategy, you absolutely need systems, but they're like 10%. And the problem with strategies and systems is, and you see this so many times, is when we and especially when we have shiny object syndrome, we're looking at the outside and we're like, okay, well, you give me the answer, you give me the 3-step formula, you give me, right? So we're looking on the outside for the strategy because we're feeling like there is something we don't know. But then, and the reason that I'm reiterating this right now is because I just want to make a point on what it is that you said with the radical responsibility, is that it can sound so, it can sound too woo-woo almost to anyone who's looking at this, and they're like, yeah, and you're just telling me that you just thought it would be cool and suddenly it appeared. That's not like, yes, it works like that, but there's a lot of work that had to go in before that. And this is what we mean when we're talking about responsibility. So some of the things that, for instance, Eloise and I worked through to get her to that point was very much, first of all, a change in perspective, right? It's stopping that feeling that you have to look on the outside to everyone else to know the answers. That's like one of the first bits. That's like the first bit of mindset that we need to look at. That's where responsibility comes in. That's where trust comes in. That's where self-worth comes in. And all of these pieces together, they then create a very different modality that helps you attract what it is that you want. Eloise, can you talk about your experience, how different it feels and how different you show up when your perspective has shifted? Like, what, to anyone who's watching right now, to anyone who's watching this later, because it does feel different.
It does, yeah. And it's like you said, like it can sound very woo of, oh yeah, just think about clients coming to you when they will. And it does sound very woo. But if you look at this logically, when I was struggling, I felt so much resentment for my business. I was waking up every day thinking, well, what's the fucking point? What's the fucking point? I wasn't really marketing myself effectively. When I was putting posts out, I was just like, yeah, whatever. Probably not going to get anything for this because I'm not earning the money. You focus so much on you not earning the money that everything you do seeps with this energy of wow. And I felt so much resentment. And because I was feeling that, I mean, it's like when you're in a bad mood, right? You get nothing done. So if you're in a bad mood about your business for like months and months and months, what results do you think that's going to yield, right? But if you're in a good mood and you get so much done, it's not so much that, I mean, I kind of subscribe to this. If you're in a good mood, then you put out good vibes and you get it back. But even logically, if you're in a good mood, you're going to get more stuff done. You're going to focus on what's exciting about your business. You're going to gravitate to the right things because they feel good and you're going to feel good about it and you're going to be excited to put yourself out there. And so, when like the difference before and after was, when I was struggling, I would wake up really resentful. I wouldn't start on my like tasks for today because I was just like, I just, what's the point? I wasn't really marketing myself a lot. There was a lot in my business that I didn't like doing, but I didn't really notice that because I was so focused on got to do stuff to make money. But then as soon as I stopped focusing on the money and started focusing on what's possible and just told myself every day, like, come on, you can do this. You can make shitloads of money. It's totally possible for you. Once I started from that angle, the way I showed up was totally different. I woke up excited because I was like, anything can happen today. Anything could happen. So you wake up with that sense of excitement. I dropped a lot of stuff that wasn't working because, again, instead of focus on the money, I started focusing on my business and thinking, okay, well, if I loved my business again, because I was so fed up of feeling resentful. I was like, I miss those days where I used to wake up and feel so good about my business. What's happened? Let's get to that point again. And I would drop anything that didn't feel good. And so it got to a point where every day I was waking up excited. And then when I was putting myself out there, my marketing was so powerful. The things I was putting out there was so powerful because I wanted to do it. And I wasn't just throwing stuff out there for money, because I did put a lot of stuff out there when I was struggling. I put so much stuff out there, but it was just stuff that I thought, oh, I'll do this and it brings me money, and it none of it did. Like, I would get no sign-ups, nothing. But as soon as I was like, I'm going to put this out there because it's exciting and feels good, that's when actually people gravitated towards me.
Right? And I love that you said that, because it is really you can have the best marketing, you can have the best copy, you can have the best anything, you can look the part, right? But and there is a scientific reason behind this, and this is like you and I, we nerd out on this a little bit because I like mixing the woo, right? Like when we'll talk about your human design in a second, but I like mixing the woo but also with the science behind these things, because there's an actual science behind why that is, right? You can have the best thing, but if there are mixed messages between how you feel versus what you put out there, right? If you ever want to look up mirror neurons, fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's not going to match, right? And whether you call it energy, whether you call it a neuron exchange, whatever, like it doesn't matter what you call it, the end result is still the same. And very often for a lot of women and for a lot of business women, and this is something that we all had to go through, something that I coached you through, is this whole thing of, okay, well, resentment towards business. I think we've all been there, right? Because we have this romanticized version of being an entrepreneur. We're in a job and we're like, oh my God, my business is like, when I'm self-employed, I'm going to feel so free. My business is going to make me so happy. And then we are self-employed and we have to do marketing, sales, IT. We have to find out what hosting is. We have to write our own fucking copy. We have to like marketing, funnels, like all of these things. And then we have to do all of these things. Then we have to do lead generation. Then we have to do like talk to people, be rejected over and over again. And it's like, right. And when you, it's almost like a switch that you flick when it's like, when you no longer expect your business to do the work to make you happy for you, but you take responsibility to make your business work for you. Right? There's a small subtlety in there, but it makes such a big difference, because how many times have you sat at home and told yourself, right, when we worked together and when we didn't work together, how many times have you told yourself, it's just like, oh, no one's interested in this, or I have to create packages because everyone else does as well, or I have to do it in this particular box because like I have this vision, but somehow no one else is doing it that way. So that means I can't do it that way, right? Like you have all these fucking rules in your head. And then once you realize you can fucking break them.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. When I was struggling, it's why when I got to a point where I focused inward, I dropped so much, because when I was focusing outward and on how to make money, I was seeing other people making shit lots of money online and go, oh, they're doing this, so I'm going to do that too. And, you know, I was just focused so much on trying to make money that I kind of lost, you know, actually trying to make myself feel good. And that was the big shift, like, and that's when mindset changed and became easy, because I really started to look inward like that. Like you said, it was almost like a switch went off. And because before, you know, I was signing up to all the things, watching all the webinars, like on so many people's like email newsletters, so I could get their like freebie that they were offering, because you're trawling through all this stuff thinking there must be something in here. Where is it? And then when you stop that and just let all that go, and you, oh my God, it's like space to breathe. Like, it feels so good. But yeah, it is such a big switch. And yeah, it's so powerful. So powerful.
I really do love that. Let's quickly, because something that I really love talking about is you talk a lot about once you focused on what makes you feel good, right? A lot of the work that we did together was very much like, okay, well, think about, because and here's the logic behind it, and it works, and I do this with all of my clients, but here's the logic behind it. It's whenever you think about, oh my God, what do I need to do to make money? What do I need to do to make money? Where do I get my next client from? And it doesn't matter whether you're just starting out, and it doesn't matter if you're trying to go from 5K a month to 15K a month, right? You always have that question at one point. It's just like, fuck, because your baseline grows with you, right? It's just like at one point in the very beginning, you went from that 500-pound package, and you really like, it was really hard for you to raise your prices in the very, very beginning, like years ago when
I first started. Oh my God.
right? And there were so many limiting beliefs around that. But then we almost like that limiting belief. It's not that limiting beliefs grow with you, but they do evolve to a certain point. And this is what I want to make clear, is that these fears and these self-sabotaging behaviors are there for a reason. They're not our enemies. They're not like, yes, they keep us small, but they're not evil, right? And so it's not about forcing yourself to feel good all the fucking time, but it's about understanding, and this is where the human design comes in. It's about understanding, what is it that I need right now? What do I want at this particular moment? And then it no longer comes, okay, well, where do I get my next client come? Is how can I raise myself up so that I can show up better, right? And if we look at your human design for a moment, you as a pure generator, super important, right? That the sacral response that we then had you cultivate is one of the massive driving forces for you. Like you are so in tune with your sacral at the moment. It's fantastic. So do you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, just before we go into that though, I just want to mention as well, because like you said, mindset work isn't about like feeling good all the time. I want to touch on that because when I started, like when I had that massive growth, when I went from like 300 to 3,000, I noticed a story that was holding me back. And it was because, so I did all this mindset work and I was getting to a point where I'd feel really good. And every now and again I have a bad day because, you know, I'm fucking human. And, but there were times where, because the mindset work helped me out so much, there were times when I was freaking out about feeling bad. So whenever I felt bad again, I was like, oh no, best not feel like this, because otherwise I'm gonna slip into those old habits. And but then that's exactly what I was doing, because I was telling myself this story of, if you feel bad, then like that's it for you, you know. Whereas when I realized it was a story and actually told myself, do you know what, like it's okay for you to have bad days, you are a human being, you are like, no one's excited all the time, like even as a generator, you know, you're not excited all the time. And then that became so much more powerful, because and one of the limiting beliefs I had to work through a lot was, I need to work all the time to make money. And I know that's especially with the society that we're conditioned in, I know that's a huge one for a lot of people. But once I kind of again took the pressure off and was like, it's okay for you to have bad days, that was so powerful, because what would happen was I would lean into my design. So if it didn't feel good for me to work, you know, if I felt a bit, because I've got fibromyalgia as well, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I am so fucking sore, I don't even want to sit at my desk because it just feels like so much work to hold myself up. You know, if I'm having those days and it feels good to sit in bed and watch Netflix all day, or go for a walk, or work for an hour and then like that's it, I would do that. Like I really leaned into relaxing so much more. And it's usually those times when I did that that I would, you know, then get leads in my inbox. So, you know, it's so funny. We feel that we have to work all the time when actually we don't. And, you know, that's when we burn ourselves. It's one of the reasons why I've got fibromyalgia in the first place, because I burnt myself out so fucking badly. And now my body's like fight and fight all the time. So yeah, it's so important to relax and lean into what feels good.
Which I want to see what you said. What do you think is, what was one of the most powerful things that we then ended up doing together when we did work on your mindset?
I mean, there is so much. I don't even know where to begin with that question, because there is so much. I think particularly now, one of the most powerful things, as well, because of my secondary authority, I need a soundboard. And this is what I love about coaching, is the fact that I'll talk through stuff and there's stuff that I don't even realize is going on, but I'm just talking to you about like something, you know, it might be like, oh, I put this post out and I feel like this about it. And then you're like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm hearing. And then it's like, and it resonates so much. And then all of a sudden it's like, I've been doing this thing because of this fear. And oh my God, I've just realized how much that's held me back. And that is really, really powerful. That is so powerful, because as well, where I kind of, just before we started working together again, I got really hot on mindset. You know, I kind of got to this, I almost got a bit snarky of like, I don't need no coach. Look at me, like absolutely, you know, smashing it. But then I kind of got to this point where I was like, I could go so much further with a coach. And it's not about, you know, oh, I can't do it on my own. But it was just realizing this, I could be so much more limitless when I had that support, right? And so having that soundboard and talking through things, even if I don't feel like there's anything going on, has been so transformational, because it's just given me like light bulbs that I wouldn't have had otherwise, or it might have taken me a year or two to realize I was doing that type of behavior or had those fears. So that's probably one of the most powerful things.
I love that you said that. And for anyone who's not really familiar with human design and authorities, it's the way that I believe business works, and when I say that I believe business works, this is very much my own opinion. I don't believe in a one size fits all. I believe that we are all designed in a specific way, and the tool that I use among a few others is something called human design. And it uses your birth data, and based on your birth data, you are born with a specific design that you came into the world. There are a few different types, and then how we make decisions and how we are meant to go through the world depends on your design. And so for Eloise in particular, she is a generator, and she is, for a lack of a better word, if you are a generator type, whether that's a manifesting generator or a generator, you're literally here to flow through life. You're literally here. Everyone, every type in some shape or form is here to flow through life. But a generator, you can see a generator because they have this visceral sacral response.
When everybody says trust your gut, like
that's a generator thing, the trust your gut. All of the other types don't really necessarily have that. And when we talk about trust your gut, it's this literal feeling of, when we coached you through this, was this, okay, well, you get two responses. You get a logical response that almost sounds like an aha or nah, and then you get the sacral response that's like an aha, and starting to trust the one that comes from your gut instead of from here. That was already really big. But then the other thing that really came about is, when we talk about secondary authority, is a little bit high level right now, but what's really important sometimes is, and I think that this gets overlooked, that this need for independence of, oh, I can do this by myself, I don't need nobody else, right? Like, I've been there myself as well. I think it can sometimes take away from the fact that we forget that actually, even when we do feel good, having support can take us even further, right? Because when we don't feel good, we're like, okay, well, now I'm looking for that emergency support. Now I'm looking for someone to build me back up. But when we are feeling good and we have that support, it's almost like, well, now it's not an emergency. Now it's just like smooth sailing.
Yeah.
It's like a plane,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started, and it was like, oh my God, I need help, I need a coach, and that's kind of all I thought business coaching was, was just like someone that helps you when you're like really in the shit, and then, it's completely changed for me now. And, at first it was, oh my God, I need you because I'm struggling. But now it's like, I don't need you, but you are so powerful and I am so powerful, and oh my God, together, look at all this amazing, like, fucking next level shit we can do. It's like you say, it's that kind of that, plane. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think, and we're very similar with the kind of people who we work with anyway, when it comes to, I call it sort of weaving the web, right? Like a little spider web. But ultimately, and I think that this is one of the strengths of females in business, right? And males as well, but my focus is obviously women in business, because women in business sell very differently. The way that traditional sales works doesn't really work necessarily for women, because it's very masculine, it's very pushy, it's very, you give me this, right? Whereas how we've been conditioned originally doesn't really work. It clashes with this. And so who is going to show women how to sell and run a business without feeling like they're taking people's money away, right? Which is things that we worked. Who is going to show people? And then also, what is really, really cool, what you said, is just like both of us together can do really cool things. But imagine now, with all that knowledge that you, like, with all the growth that you get yourself, your clients are getting that growth with you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you're just creating, like, starts with one person, you have another person, then more person, and it's just like, it never ends. It doesn't stop.
It's that ripple effect, isn't it? It's, yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it. I genuinely love it. I'm so excited. I think we went off the notes, but whatever. We'll figure it out.
It's bound to happen. It's been really good so far.
Wait, you mean I didn't go off a tangent for once? I love that. I made some notes. Is there anything else that you want to say until I get my thoughts back together?
Um, just that, like, again, it was just this realization of I can go so much quicker when I've got the support of others around me. And that was really powerful. And also the accountability as well. Because this is something I've noticed, like when I was, when we first started coaching, we did like mindset and lots of like work on limiting beliefs. And once I kind of like finished that program and then discontinued coaching, you kind of leave with all the kind of like good practices and the things that you do, like the mindset work, like the journaling, whatever it is, and just essentially the tools that kind of help you with mindset and stuff. And I continued that. And then because you're not working with a coach, you kind of then start to drop off a bit. And it kind of got to a point where like we hadn't worked together and I hadn't been with a coach for quite some time. And you just get so in your head and you're just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And so just having that accountability as well is really powerful, because once we started working together again, like I'm so much, even though my mindset now is really powerful, like it's even more powerful with that accountability, because I'm always looking like at my mind for things that I can talk to you about. So whenever stuff pops up, I mean, so this example that I had the other day, right, or at the beginning of this week, like I had this thought popped up where I was like, oh, I'm really excited by one-to-one clients popping into my inbox. Oh, but I won't have that for a while because I haven't marketed for a while. And then I was like, whoa, where did that thought come from? Someone could be reaching out to you right now. And then that same day, literally that evening, someone reached out to me, and they found me because they were looking for another web designer, Eloise, but then preferred me instead. So here we are, of course. So, but it's kind of stuff like that that falls to the wayside when you don't have that, like, someone in your corner, right? It's that accountability. So just being very wary of that and kind of always kind of looking into my thoughts of, is this a good thought? Is this not a good thought?
I'm trying to articulate the question that I have, because there's a scenario in my head that I have, and I think it's really cool that you spoke about this right now. I'm trying to think of how to articulate this question. Is just like what the mindset was maybe like half a year or a year ago versus what it is now. Because again, I think sometimes it's like, yeah, but that again sounds like magic. It's like, oh, they're typing Eloise and all of a sudden that's just a coincidence. And yes, it could be a coincidence, but I think it's also a very carefully curated way, because Eloise has been showing up so much more powerfully and authentically, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Her content speaks so much better. She's consistent with her content, right? And consistency, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean posting 3 fucking times a day. We're talking about Eloise has now built a business how she means to go on, which isn't working herself to the bloody bone. It's working when she desires to, creating content when she feels creative, batching if she needs to, because that's how she prefers to work. And this is what I meant, that every business is really unique. Some people really enjoy writing content every day, right? Sometimes you enjoy writing content every day, and then other times you're just like, oh no, for a whole month I don't really feel creative.
Yeah.
Right. And I think to allow yourself to have that kind of freedom is exactly what then leads people to you, to find you like this. It's not like, call it magic, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right. But you do
like
show up differently.
Yeah, it's like that quote from Roald Dahl: "Those who don't believe in magic will never find it." And that's why I love looking at this like it is magic, because it really feels like it as well. Like that thing where I was like, I'm not gonna get a lead. Hang on, let's rewrite the story. Oh, a lead has appeared. It is like you can look at it logically, but also looking at like, oh my God, I just manifested that. Feels
Mhm.
so good. It feels good to me. So I'm gonna think I'm pretty fucking magic because that feels good. But yeah, it's like you were saying, like the mindset, like before and after, right, as well. I feel so much more powerful now because, like, if there's something that I'm kind of thinking through in
Mhm.
my head, like before, it would be sometimes I might have to put it on the back burner and just think, okay, I can't work that out right now. Let's leave that and wait for, I don't know, the universe to give me some inspiration on why this is happening. Whereas now, even if I'm feeling a bit like in a funk, I can go on Voxer, drop a message in, and then I'm like, I am so supported right now. And it just, you know, even like when you kind of like hit an upper limit or something, it's so exciting now because it's like we get to work through this. It's like it's really exciting.
Mhm. Would you say that being able to see them from a different perspective, right? Because you were talking about, and like radical responsibility and self-trust are some of the huge pillars that I have anyone working on, which is really about perspective, right? It's really about, well, you are always trusting something, meaning that you are either trusting that something's not going to work and that people are not going to buy, or you can start trusting because you have evidence, maybe not as much, or maybe not through paid means, through your current means, you can start trusting that it is working out and that you can do this, right? Which is really about choice. So you get to choose the perspective, which I like to say, sort of like to say, is a different side of the same coin ultimately, right? But you,
Yeah, what's probable, what's possible.
which,
Yeah.
yeah, which one you look at. And so would you say that when you started leaning more into the perspective, the story that you would like to see happening, right? Would you say that your income then in proportion would grow just as much?
I'd say like more so, like even more. Like whenever I focused on again like what's probable or like leaned into my fears or maybe done something that didn't feel good, it would usually backfire and I would kind of stay stagnant or, you know, not make as much money. But then as soon as I started leaning into this could go really well, then yeah, like my income just, you know, absolutely skyrocketed from there. And, you know, and since we started working together and I've leaned even more into that, because you know I'm not going to lie, there's been times where I've had wobbles where, you know, because it's like you said, it's a different demon on every level, right? You still have those fears. The fear never goes away. Get used to it, make it your friend, invite it in for a cup of tea. um, but yeah, I mean, since leaning into that more, I mean, what we've been working together for 2 months now, and my income is like almost close to doubling what it was before we started working together. So it's just, yeah, again, it might sound woo, but it really does, like the correlation of your income level really does, you know, go along with it. It is magic to see. But it's like that, there's that old adage, I can't say that word, word. But there's, you know, the tale of the two wolves, right? We've heard that sometimes you hear it in Hollywood or whatever. There's the tale of the two wolves where it's, you know, a dad's talking to his son about the two wolves, and he said, you know, one wolf is like the wolf that's like, you know, that makes you happy, that brings you joy, that brings you passion and creativity and all the good stuff, right? And the love and gratitude, all that good stuff. And then you've got the other wolf, which is responsible for your fear and your doubt and your, you know, your envy and your anger and you know, all the kind of like worry and all that sort of stuff. And then the son says, okay, well, dad, you know, which one's stronger, which would, you know, which would win in a fight, sort of thing. And he says it's the one you feed. And that is so true. And it's why coaching has been so powerful, because the more I've been on my own, the easier it is to kind of
Mhm.
move into that wolf that, you know, that I'm feeding of the fear. You know, when you're on your own, it's so easy to feed the fear. But when you've got like someone around you, it's like if you're in a bad mood, but then you like go out with a friend, you instantly feel better, right? And so when you start doing those things to feed the good wolf, the one that's, you know, responsible for your happiness and your excitement, it's like we were talking earlier when I was like, okay, what can I do to feel excited about my business again? I'm feeding that wolf. So yeah, it's, and again, it's that radical responsibility. Which one do you want to feed? Because we all get fears. Like I still get fears. There's still stuff that, you know, but when that happens, I ask myself, you know, do I want to give in to that? Do I want to resonate with that? Is that the story I want to tell myself? Do I want to wake up thinking about that every day? No. Okay. Well, what do I want to wake up thinking about every day?
It's almost like, and it's this phrase that we heard, you have to invest in yourself, but I almost feel like investing in yourself isn't always about money, right? It's always go and spend money with a coach or go and spend money with a brand expert or whatever. But I also feel that we have to take a responsibility to maintain this. And like, do you invest in your own psyche, in your own mental health, in your own well-being enough to be able to carry this business that you want to grow and grow and grow, right? And one of the things that it's really interesting, because one thing that I always say is that you're never going to be at a point where you're going to be like, yeah, I've done enough, I've got enough money, I've got enough clients, this is it for me,
I'm done, I'm good, I have one business completed it, mate,
right? Like, done, next. And yeah, sure, there might be a point when you're selling your business, right? But there's never going to be a point when it's enough. And I think there is a lot of fear, again, whether you're a beginner or whether you are scaling from 5 to 6 figures, which is what you're essentially doing right now, right? Scaling from 5 to 6 figures is this whole thing of like, how do you maintain that level of self, right? It comes with boundaries, but it also comes with, what do you now say no to? And I feel that that's something that is almost this learned behavior that we can paralyze ourselves with the fear of, oh, but I'm not as successful as Jennifer over there, I'm not as, like, my stuff doesn't look as sleek as that one, right? Oh, I like, I minced my words around, or I don't know, like, whatever it is, like, it's this fear that we are not that someone else. But this is, again, this whole thing of, do you invest in yourself enough to realize that actually it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing, right? And like you said, when you're by yourself, there is no one who can argue with the thoughts that are in your head. There is no one who can sort of open the little door and be like, no, actually what you're telling yourself right now is bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love that you touched on that. That's really, really cool. What would you say to someone who's currently in this situation where they're in these peaks and troughs and they're like looking for the answers everywhere? What is it that you would advise them to do?
Well, there's a few things. So firstly, look inward, because when I was very much feast and famine, I was basically doing all the things and looking for like that one package that would work, and that one way of marketing that was going to solve all my problems, and that one way of running my business that would make me a millionaire, right? So forget that, stop trying to work out the how, and stop looking at other people and how they do stuff, and start looking inward. And I love that you touched on self-care, because I feel like holistically it's all related, right? The more you look after yourself and prioritize yourself, and again, bit of advice, put yourself on a fucking pedestal, right? Treat yourself like a fucking queen. Like you say, that looks like self-care, that looks like boundaries, you know, whatever it is. But look inwards. I mean, you know, and again, when that fear, like that fear comes up, you know, if you are struggling, like, and looking outward, like, step away from the phone and turn off social media, like take time for yourself to, you know, to stop looking out so much. So that would be my first bit of advice, look inward, because when that kind of switch went off, when I really focused on mindset, it was like the first time that I was like, this is on me, I can do this. And I trust myself. I'm going to take a gamble on myself because actually I'm really fucking powerful and I can do this, right? Whereas before I was kind of, like you say, relying on my business to almost take care of me. Whereas now I'm like, I take care of myself and my business is, yeah. The other thing, which I forgot what I was going to say, so bear with me while that thought comes back into my head. So yeah, looking inward. Yeah, radical responsibility as well. So we can focus on what's probable. You know, oh, I'm probably not going to make rent this month because it's like there's only a week left and I haven't got any money. You know, stop focusing on that and focus, like, just like be brave enough to fucking daydream, right? It can be scary to daydream, right? Especially when you're struggling because you're like, I want that so much. But I literally put daydreaming down to one of my big successes, because sitting there and focusing on, and whenever I had a thought where I was like, shit, how am I going to pay this unexpected bill? Or, oh my God, the date for rent is creeping up and I haven't got enough money to cover it. What the fuck? I spent so much time thinking, okay, well, someone could book with me right now. Someone could literally email me and say, I don't care how much it costs, I want your highest package, I'm pay up front, done, you know? So focus on what's possible, because the more you do that and the more good stuff happens, and then you feed it more and more and you just build up so much momentum. And then because your mindset almost stabilizes, that kind of stuff stops, blah, 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 blah. That stops the peaks and troughs as well. Because another thing, when I was like going through the up and down, my mindset was up and down. Like I would have like a couple of weeks where I was like, oh, God damn, I don't want to show up, fucking hell, I'm so resentful. And then a week later, I'll be like, oh, I feel okay. Yeah. Whereas now, yes, I have bad days, but even with the bad days, I'm still like, yeah, that's good. You know, my business is still great. I'm, you know, by always like focusing in that abundance mindset, right? Like my income has stabilized with that. And majority of the time, I have really good days. So yeah.
I love that. It feels, for a lack of a better way of saying it, the way that I like to put it is really, it's the difference between empowering yourself and empowering your fears.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I quickly want to say, actually, because I feel like this really needs to be said. As we said in the beginning, like, we've been there. I know what it's like when you're struggling and you see shit like this and it pisses you off. And I know it. I know some of you might be watching this and thinking, fuck's sake, like, no, mindset isn't the answer. There must be something else. Give it a fucking try. Okay. If anything else, take this one thing, just give it a try, because I promise you now, you'll get to a point where you're just like, well, I've got nothing else to fucking lose, I might as well. So just give it a try, because honestly, it is the thing. You're looking for that one thing. It's you. You are that one thing. So yeah.
to give a bit of direction, because mindset is very broad. If you're looking to sort of see what responsibility looks like, just simply ask yourself, what is within my control? And the very easy answer is that very often making money is outside of your control. How many people are going to sign up is outside of your control. This goes a little bit like into coaching in and of itself, right? But there's so many things that are outside of your control. Like, how many people are going to see your posts? How many, like, fuck the vanity metrics. How many comments are you going to get? Who cares, right? You can't control any of these things that are outside of you, but what you can control is the energy in which you show up. You can control how you feel about yourself and your business. You can control the beliefs you have about yourself, about your clients, about your business. These are all things that you can control. And you actually find that when you take ownership of the things that you have control over and you surrender what you do not, not only do you take a lot of pressure away from yourself, because before you would have taken on pressure from everyone else as well, right? Which is very heavy if you ask me. But it's also the question of, okay, well then what do you say no to so that something else comes in? What is it that you're currently agreeing to? What is it that you right now need? Do you really need a fucking sleep? Okay, well, how can you get some, right? Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I'm starting off with new clients and coaching, and I tell them, okay, you're gonna need to do a little bit less right now, right? Because it's not that they're not seeing that, like, it's not that they're not scaling their business because they're not doing enough, right? They're visible, they're doing, in fact, they're actually doing too much, right? And that's like really the first step, is because when we're so busy in our heads that we can't even discern, okay, well, what's the next step? What is it that I want my business to do? Because we create all of these fucking rules. Well, then of course you're not, like, of course you're going to procrastinate. Of course you're not going to get shit done. Of course you're going to be really fucking scattered. Of course you don't have clarity in your message, right? So many different things. So that's something that where you can start. And I love that you said that, to just give it a try. Before we sort of hop off, what would you, my original question in my head is like, would you recommend people who are in this scenario to work with me? But I kind of sort of thought that, this is live, this is
100%.
But what would you say to someone who's currently considering going on to coaching, working with me or whatever, right? Like, what is it?
Just fucking do it. Just do it, literally. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, when, like, from two different perspectives. One, when I came to you because I was struggling, like I said, I was able to pay you back within a month. Like, I landed my highest client ever at 12.5k. Like, literally one sale, 12.5k.
Years ago, people.
That was insane. And that was literally, I think, within, again, after like a month of working together. It's, yeah. So if you are struggling, then, and you can invest, because I know sometimes you can't always, but if you can, like, do what you can to invest, because it is so worth it. And then for those who are kind of a bit on a different level from that, again, it could be so the position that I was in, like, 7 months ago, where you're doing okay, but you're, again, there's like, that there's some stuff going on, and you know that you will grow more, like, together, then it's so worth it. And if you're feeling good about something, then that's usually a sign that that thing is kind of made for you. So yeah, just 100% do it. Just do it.
I love it so much. Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Is there anything else that you want to say?
I just wanted to say on that as well, like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I've, been working with a coach and I haven't got something from it. Like, there has always been lessons, there's always been light bulb moments, there's always been shifts, I've never not hired a coach and got something from it. So if you're prepared to do the work, it is.
And that's a really good sort of outro in a way. It's like, it's prepared to do the work, because I think that sometimes we can look at the word mindset and think, oh, it's too simple, right? But simple doesn't mean easy. It's actually one of the hardest parts in scaling your business, is to become the person that can hold that dream that you're dreaming of, right? Because if you're at 3k a month on a fairly consistent level, and you're like, okay, well, I'm ready for these 10k, I'm ready for the 15k right now, you're gonna have to be a different person. You're gonna have to, like, who do you need to be to be a person who can have 15k a month, right? Not the person you are right now. And I think we can sometimes underestimate the introspection and the mindset part that comes with this, because the qualities that we need to cultivate, and hone to get to that point, it's sometimes quite scary. And I think that's sort of, and I know I have a coach, we talk about this fairly frequently as well. It's this, that's where the fears show up again. That's where it's like, oh my God, how am I going to get to 10K? Are people going to buy? And it's just like, we had that same scenario when you were like at 500, and now look at you, you sell like high-end packages, high 5-figure packages, right? And it's
you level, you devil, I think they call it.
It's beautiful to see, and I absolutely love that. So thank you for that. This was beautiful.
So much fun.
So much fun. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, drop any questions if you have any.